What's up, guys? So today I am going to be talking about Megadeth and their 15th studio album, Dystopia. But there are a couple things that we need to notate before we just jump right into the track listing. Right after the band got done touring for Super Collider, both the guitarist Chris Broderick and the drummer, the strummer, the drummer Sean Drover, there we go, both quit the band almost simultaneously. The story is they quit 6 hours apart, which is crazy. Um, but they would go on to form their own band. But that's another story for another time. Basically, Megadeth was no longer where they wanted to be musically. Their heart just wasn't in it. And with the mixed reviews, mixed bag that Super Collider was, a lot of people can say that, that you couldn't blame these guys for doing what they did. So, obviously, there's two huge holes in the band that need to be filled before they start making a new album. And they found them in first. Let's talk about the drums. Chris Adler from Lamb of God came in um, to fill in drum duties because he was such a staple in Lamb of God. Um, he kind of was just a studio musician. I believe he did some tour dates after making the album, but it was very much a we really need to fill this role. Will you come do drums for us? And he said that he grew up a huge Megadeth fan, so it was a huge honor for him um, to play drums on this album. But now let's talk about the guitar. A more actual permanent bandmate in Kiko Loureiro. I believe that's how you say his last name, and if I'm butchering it, I'm sorry. Um, Figured I'd give it my best shot. Um, he's South American, and he's either from um, talk about butchering things. I believe he's from Brazil or Argentina, one of the two. My heart is saying Brazil though. Um, yeah, Kiko Loureiro, and yeah. So you've filled your holes, and now we can make an album. Um, Without any further ado, let's jump into the tracks. So, first song on the album is called "The Threat Is Real," and it starts out with this Middle Eastern vibe, very kind of Middle Eastern sort of chants, or like a woman kind of lightly singing over the top of it with like some bongos, some hand drums, sort of things. And in my experience, I mean, I know this just sounds weird, but I just interpret the two together. Um, Anything that has like a Middle Eastern flair, almost, whether it's at the beginning of the song or in the middle of a song, it's probably gonna be a good song because to to kind of go out there, not only musically but culturally, and kind of decide to put this in your song is a very sort of like ballsy move. And I'm sure it's either a crash and burn sort of thing, but most of the time it works. And this is no exception. Um, the riff comes in; it's very good. It's very, it's pretty fast. You got some, fast picking in there. And the lyrics come in and they're great. It's a great way to start an album. Justified obliteration, no one cares anymore. The Messiah or mass murderer, no one controls who comes through the door. Um, Very much taking, looking at both sides of terrorism, if you will, which is once again, I mean, Megadeth is no stranger to controversy, but the Messiah or mass murderer, because if you look on the other side of the coin, as difficult as that is, um, terrorists or the people who we see the people that we see attacking innocent people believe that they are doing right. You know, they believe that, and I don't want to start a religious war in the comments. Please don't. I'm just these are just my thoughts. But um, you know, they believe that they are serving their God um, in a positive way, and this is what their God would want them to do by any means necessary. So, if you think about, you know, like I said, it's hard to look on the other side of the coin, but that's what Megadeth did, and they did it. They did it pretty nicely. Um, yeah, no controlling who comes through the door. The threat is real. I mean, that alone is such a big statement, and there's another big statement on this album that I'll get to later. But the threat is real. I mean, you've heard people say that's not a threat; it's a promise. Like this just kind of cranks it up a bit. Like, you know, you can send threats, and nations can send, you know, letters, or you can get media coverage blown out of proportion this way or that way. But the threat is real. Like, you know, what we've said we're gonna do has now shown up to your doorstep. Um, and then there's another real interesting lyric. Excuse me. Violent conditioning caused the nature of the enemy. Once again, just looking at the other side of the story, because there are always two sides to any story. Um, you know, they believe what they're doing is right because they've grown up this way, and that's why they believe it. They've been conditioned to think so. Um, Instrumentally, I mean, the solo section is really good, and you get just a taste of Kiko and what's to come on this album. Great opening track. All right, next song on the album is called Dystopia, and if you're a Megadeth fan at all, the first run of this song is instantly going to remind you of Hangar 18, um, which I really don't mind. Um, I really don't, because I think the song holds up well and kind of holds up on its own. You know, dystopia, like, you know, a utopian where everything is perfect, but like dystopia, like nothing's ever going to be perfect because we're humans and we have our own desires. We're selfish and whatnot. But what you don't know, the legend goes, won't hurt you if you only want to live and die in fear. You know, thinking for yourself um, is, you know, something that's kind of stretched, especially in that first verse. But you know, you must destroy the cancer at its roots, which lyrically takes on a, you know, whole new meaning. You know, after this album, Dave would come down with cancer, and like, you know, in my mind, like, you have to play this song live like more often now, right? Because like Dave singing "You must destroy the cancer at its roots" is gonna make the crowd go crazy. At least it would for me. Um, yeah, and it's pretty structured, similar to Hangar 18. Solos all over the place. Um, just great musical sections. Pretty good title track. Pretty good. All right, next song on the album is called Fatal Illusion. This was the first single. Um, I remember when it came out. So it starts off with this sort of like guitars that don't really have, I don't want to say don't have a purpose, but don't have a direction. They're kind of like faint here and faint here, and they come to focus and they fade out again. It all leads into this um, really great bass line from David Ellefson. Just, I mean, the dude's a monster on bass, and it's another great one in his catalog. Along with like Peace Sells, you know, once again, I'm not saying I've said this a lot on this channel because like I don't want people to misinterpret my thoughts. I'm not saying that the song is as good as Peace Sells, because quite frankly it's not. I'm just saying it's kind of iconic in the way that the bass riff is in that song. Very very good bass riff, and then the main riff kicks in. You know, the electric guitar riff. Very bouncy, very like you wouldn't you wouldn't headbang to death on this song, but it's something that very just constantly has you bobbing your head. Um, uh, One lyric that I think is huge, I said this on the thread, is real. Just one punchline that really sticks out at you. It's a fatal illusion to think that to think that evil never dies. Excuse me, kind of getting tongue tied there. And man, that really makes you think. Like, you know, part of why I love horror movies and like kind of dark culture in a way is because, you know, people that don't like to think about these things, you know, just because you don't think about it doesn't mean that like it doesn't happen, and it doesn't mean that it can't be interpreted in a very interesting way. You know, evil never dies. Like, just because you don't think about it doesn't, like I said, doesn't mean it doesn't, you know, doesn't happen because you don't think about it. Sorry if I'm repeating myself. It's just a point that I want to get across. Um, because you know, evil's always going to be there. It all depends on how you handle it and how you know, how you perceive it. Because, like I said, it's always going to be there. But how much are you going to entertain to the evil ideas? You know, strong mind, willpower, you know, things of that nature. Um, so yeah, the lyrics themselves are decent. It's a solid like first single. It's nothing. It's not nothing too great, but yeah, great punchline, great bass riff, good song. All right, next song on the album is called "Death from Within," and the intro is kind of interesting because it kind of starts off very quiet in the distance with just some little bit of guitars and drums just kind of like pounding, um, just very off in the distance. Um, and then when you think it's gonna get louder, it just gets a little bit louder. It doesn't like go at 100% yet. It's and then you know you get the intro. It's a very the song itself is just very very slow and pounding. I know I use those words to describe a lot of songs, but I guess I have a catchphrase or something. Yeah, it's very slow and pounding. It's um, very methodical. Um, Warning signs have all but been denied. Had an assassins in its midst. I'm forgetting some of the lyrics here, but it's a pretty good song. Death from Within, kind of, you know, like I said, evil can come from a lot of different places. And you know, death from within, that's up to your interpretation of what that means. It's a pretty good song, like I said, just slow and kind of pounding. The chants at the end get kind of repetitive, the whole death from within sort of thing. But overall, I mean, it's a good modern Megadeth song. I'm trying to remember just a couple more lyrics. Warning signs have all but been denied, mocked and vilified. Their, oh gosh, what is it? First line of defense soon became their last resort. You know, ignoring all the warning signs, it's kind of, it's almost as if it ties into the threat is real. Like, you know, you ignore something and you ignore something, and then it shows up on your doorstep, and you're like, oh shit, we've really gotta deal with this now, and you know, be on the offense, whether that's, you know, like I said, however you want to interpret it. It's probably more of a physical song than like a, you know, a mental game. But very good song, solid song. All right, next song on the album is called "Bullet to the Brain," and Kiko does this great acoustic intro. It's pretty good. But then the verse comes in, and it's like so buried in the mix that you really have to listen to hear it, and it's like so drowned in reverb, and it's kind of got this wolfy sort of quality, kind of that sort of thing. Um, and then you get to like the chorus, which the tempo is awkward, and the chorus is also kind of awkward. The you had to know she gave love for sex or something like that. It's I don't know. The chorus just it's kind of off-putting. It just makes me feel sort of awkward, and the verse doesn't really help with that. Um, and even though I'm not a huge fan of this song as a whole, the instrumental sections again just kind of save this song. I mean, they don't fully save it because I've already stated my problems, but I mean, man, just Dave once again like was down and out with finding a replacement guitarist, and somehow just pulled this out of his hat. Like he found a really really good replacement for Chris Broderick, and wow, I mean what a debut album. But we'll get more to Kiko and his parts later because I really like him on this album. All right, next song on the album is called Post American World, and yeah, this is it's a decent song. So it's this song, the tempo and just overall speed of the song, it's almost a groove metal song. The it's very just based around a chugging sort of riff. Kind of like Death from Within, but very different because it's got a slower pace. But it's all based around like this, like I said, just this chugging heavy riff. Um, and Yeah, the title, Post American World, it's something else that just makes you think. Along with, other just kind of punchlines, quote unquote, that I've thought about, and it just really raises some eyebrows. Post American World. Um at least in my mind, like Americans were so in a way we're so cocky and so ignorant that we kind of forget that like there's other parts of the world out there. Like, we may think we're the best country in the world, but that doesn't mean we're the only country in the world. What would we look like in a post-American world? That's actually a lyric. Why cower to all those who oppose the American world? Like, we're so stuck in our ways that like if we were to get influences from somewhere else, like we wouldn't, how would we respond to that? Because we're so stuck in our American way. Why cower to all those who oppose the American world? Kind of asking that question of, as Americans, like why do we fear change or differences, or however you want to spin it. That's just my interpretation. Um, what would we look like in a post-American world? We see each other through different eyes, segregating ourselves by class and size. Just money, and if you've got money in this country, then you're somebody. But if you don't have any money in this country, then you're kind of looked down upon. All in all, it's a pretty good song. I kind of put it with Death from Within. It's not a great song. It's by no means one of my favorites, but I like dissecting the lyrics, and it's a it's a decent groove metal song. All right, next song on the album is called Poisonous Shadows, and once again, Kiko with his acoustic guitar. Um, um, just wow, it really just Um, it really just does a great job with this intro and leading into the rest of the song. I mean, the dude knows how to play guitar and knows how to put emotion into his guitar and put himself. I'm sure that, um, in 10, 15 years, we're going to be talking about Kiko licks, and rightfully so. Um, but it just, and I will say one of the negatives is of this album is it's kind of all the same tone. I mean, you do get differences, different shades of slow and fast, and acoustic and sludgy and things of that nature, but it's all sort of the same tone, and that is somewhat of a negative. um, but yeah, it leads into great lyrics once again by Dave. um, how much pain do you need to feel? How much shame do you have to conceal? You get a sense of someone that has dug themselves a hole or dug themselves a grave so deep that they have no idea how to get out of it. How long are you going to live this way before you're going to even try to pick yourself back up, whatever that means to you. Um, and once again, I can just pick out a huge kind of quote from this song, or tagline, as I've been calling it, or punchline, that just really makes you think. When there's no more grace, does your heart start to race? I love that line. That feeds into my dark side that really just makes you wonder about, just about things, about life. When there's no more grace, does your heart start to race? When you're not given any more second chances, third chances, fourth chances, fifth chances, where are you going to go? Where are you going to turn to? Because your chances, your luck has all run out. What are you going to do? Um, is it my face you see? Do I haunt you in your dreams? On your hands and knees as you crawl through your nightmare. It's just beautifully dark, and that's what this song is. It's beautifully dark. It's beautiful imagery, just horror, just it's dark, and it's handled really well. I want to jump to the end, because Kiko, once again, a talented son of a bitch. um, he's playing this like piano part, and um, Dave is almost doing the spoken word um, sort of thing, and it really closes it out. Um, I could almost touch her; she was right there, and it really wraps up this great song that takes you on a journey in a lot of different ways. All right, next song on the album is the instrumental "Conquer or Die," and man, Kiko again with that acoustic intro guitar, and I'm not complaining one bit. Um, this this acoustic intro, I mean, I want to call it an intro. It's an instrumental. I'm gonna call it an intro anyway. You guys know what I'm talking about. Um, this acoustic guitar has a lot of things in it. Has everything from a great transition. It's a great transition to the heavier parts of the song. It's a great opening. There's a lick, just a small lick, that is like, it's almost a hopeful part, and then he goes back into playing kind of the main riff of this acoustic part. It's a beautifully constructed piece, and I haven't talked enough about Kiko's electric guitar abilities, and they're definitely there on this album. I mean, he's definitely got his solos that are there, and he definitely shines in that way. But man, when Kiko gets an acoustic guitar in his hand on this album, I think that's where he really shines. I mean, I can't wait for the next album because of his addition. I mean, he's a great. He really, doesn't make you miss Chris Broderick. I mean, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but this album was the perfect bridge of, let's say, Endgame was a great Chris Broderick driven album. This album is a great bridge from like Endgame to Dystopia. I know that's saying a lot, but hopefully you guys get what I'm saying. Like a great Chris Broderick album versus a great Kiko album. Like they just, they mirror each other well, and Kiko definitely shows with this album that he's, here to stay and can make great contributions. But then, it goes into the heavy part, so I'm gonna loop back around here. And it's a good song. It's a good riff. There are some great electric guitar solos by Kiko, and if you guys don't already know, I'm not a huge instrumental fan, but since this song is like 3.5 minutes, it definitely doesn't overstay its welcome. It does its job. Overall, it's a decent instrumental. Yeah. All right, next song on the album is called "Lying in State," and man, this song it's a shotgun immediately, machine gun, if you will. Haven't talked enough about Chris Adler on drums, but the guitar and the drums in this intro just kind of match each other step for step. It's a great marriage. Chris does a great job at matching Dave, and Dave does a great job at matching Chris. But we all know that Adler has to match Mustaine, because no way in hell it's gonna be the other way around. Yeah, it's just, and then with the lyrics, Dave is just spitting fire. What we are witnessing here is a crime of Western civilization, crushing our potential and piling it on. How will history portray us? How will you be remembered? Even the bigger picture, the political, historical picture of, not to get into politics, that was just an example. But in the history books, what will the kids learn in 50, 100 years about, this time period, or, what have you. Kiko does some pretty good kind of transitional solos that are, that just kind of serve their purpose. And then we get to the bridge, and we get to Dave doing this sort of spoken word part. So we know, it's no secret that Dave Mustaine is not the greatest singer in the world. He has said it himself. Most of us, that's not why we listen to Megadeth. We know that Mustaine isn't the greatest singer in the world. But it's stuff like this, vocally, in the bridge of this song, where he just knows his talents and does them well. This sort of spoken word thing. The perfect plan must have an alibi. The greatest words cover the greatest crimes. Vocally, Dave shines the best, at least in my head, when I think about great vocal Megadeth moments, when he is speaking, when he is just kind of this rough, gruff sort of, he knows how to get his point across. He doesn't have to scream, doesn't have to, like, he can just be like kind of a badass, just, speaking kind of that spoken word. The greatest words cover the greatest crimes, and because I'm on camera and putting myself on the spot, I can't think of anything else. But yeah, it's a huge highlight for me. Fantastic song. I mean, just amazing, by all members of the band, especially the new guys. All right, next song on the album is called "The Emperor," And this is where things kind of start to fall by the wayside just a bit. Um, Once again, instrumentally as a whole, this song is pretty damn good. Um, Even though lyrically the lyrics are kind of awkward and whatever, they're I don't come back to this song for lyrics, definitely don't. But the instrumentally, it's very good, very great solos. I mean, everyone in the band, just instrumentally, is on their A game. But yeah, I mean, who do you think you are? Some kind of superstar, and the Emperor has no clothes, and we can see it, and it's just kind of weird. I mean, I'm sure there's some deeper meaning that I'm not picking up, but yeah, not really a song I come back to, but I mean, it definitely you know holds its own weight instrumentally for sure. All right, last song on the album is called Foreign Policy. And ending an album once again for the second album in a row on a cover. Um, Whatever you think about this song, whether you like it or not, whether you love it or hate it, um, it's like I don't get the I don't get the point. Why, like, and there's a bonus track on here that I'm not gonna cover, but it's called like "Melt the Ice Away," and there's another one called like "Me Hate You," which I'm not gonna cover, but I'm pretty sure those are originals. Like, maybe in the album on that. Like, I don't get why you would. This is a this isn't a cover. This isn't a cover. This isn't a cover album. This isn't Garage Inc. And I know I just made a Metallica and Megadeth crossover. Please don't hate me. But yeah, I mean this isn't a cover album. Like, why would you end the album on a cover? Like, I've said this before, but how you how you start an album and how you end an album is super important to me. Like, obviously the stuff in the middle is also important, but like the first thing you hear, I guess I'm kind of an old soul that way, but like, track listings are a thing for a reason, and you're kind of supposed to, quote unquote, supposed to listen to an album from start to finish, how it was, how it was recorded. The track listing has always been super important to me. So like, why would you end an album on a cover? Like, I don't care whether you like it or not. Like, I don't get the point. Um, that being said, the song is decent, I guess. How he says, foreign policy. It's kind of weird, and it's kind of sort of buried in the mix. I mean, you can still hear it, but instrumentally, it's pretty damn good. It's all right. And as I'm closing up the review, yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on the song. Decent. I mean, I'm not gonna go on my rant that it's a cover, but like, maybe I don't give this song a chance because it ends the album on a cover, and I just went on my rant. But that's pretty much my review of the album. And yeah, um, one of the biggest takeaways is, even if you don't like a song on this album, instrumentally, it's pretty damn good. As a whole, like I said, if you don't like a song on this album, um, it it kind of, I don't want to say it saves itself, but it kind of does, with the instrument. Just, I mean, Kiko is a great guitarist, and I can't wait to see his work on the next album. And yeah, and yeah, Chris Adler doesn't do half a bad job either. So yeah, huge. A lot of people see this as a huge comeback from Super Collider, and this is an album that Megadeth needed to have, and they definitely delivered. All right, see you guys later. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless.